we're here for Year 2 Phonics, Lesson 55. And this is our weekly review. So in our weekly review this week, we are reviewing multiple graphemes for the phoneme A and also our root ject, meaning to throw. Okay, let's start with our grapheme deck. Here we go. We're going to say it together. E-A. Air, as in pear. I, as in tire. Sh. Ow, as in house. Oo, as in soup. J. A as in grey. Or. N as in gnome. N as in knife. I. S. Qu. A. Oo as in glue. And oo as in screw and U as in dew. Excellent. Well done, everybody. So, Friday means it is weekly review and we start with our dictation. So you are going to need your pencil and paper, something to write on and something to write with. Might be a whiteboard today as well. Get ready for our dictation. Okay, the first thing we need to do today is our dictation. So in our dictation, I will say the sentence and you just listen. And then I'll say the sentence and you are going to repeat the sentence. Then we get our writing implements ready and you will write down. Okay, listen to the sentence first. The grey alien tried to break the window to eject from the spaceship. Listen again. The grey alien tried to break the window to eject from the spaceship. Okay, let's scoop the phrases and you repeat after me. The grey alien tried to break the window to eject from the spaceship. Okay, it is a longer dictation today, so take your time and remember, I will hold up some of the cue cards to give you a prompt for which A spelling you might need. Okay, I'll have them down ready in front of me so I can pick them up for you. Also remember that ject means to throw. Well, it was a morpheme, our root this week. All right, are you ready to do dictation? So you remember you've got your punctuation, your spelling choices. You've also got some grammar in there. If you have to add some suffixes, remember you drop the E if you're adding a vowel suffix. Okay, here we go. The grey alien. The grey alien. Pause. Write it down. Tried to break. The window to eject. From the spaceship. Okay, that was a longer dictation today. So I will read through the dictation again. I want you to look down onto your writing now and check that you have all the words in the right order. Are you ready to listen? You're checking now as we go. I'll also give you some prompts as well. The grey alien tried to break the window to eject from the space ship. Okay, remember you can rewind me and listen to that part again if you would like to correct your work further. Okay, I will now reset the board and come back and we'll do our corrections. Okay, it's time to check our work. So look up over on the board now, and you have to look up at the board and then down on your page to make sure you have the right spelling choices and punctuation. Okay, the grey, did you have EY? Excellent. Alien. Now that's, if we're clapping out our syllables there, A-L-I-N. It's a strange one there. Tried. That's one where we change the Y to I, add ED. To break. Did you have EA spelling there? The window to eject. Here's our morpheme. From the space ship. Excellent. Did you have those choices? Well done. Now's the time where you can correct your work, make any changes that you need to. Did you have the capital letter and the full stop? There were no speech marks today or exclamation marks. Okay, fantastic work. Now we're going to move on to our reading passage. Our reading passage today is a narrative, and in the narrative today, we're talking about an arcade where you go to play games. Now, back when I was in primary school, we had an arcade called Downtown, and it was in Hindley Street. And we would come from the country and we'd be allowed to go there for 2 hours, and it was very, very, very exciting. Do you know where you have seen an arcade possibly now? Have you ever been to the beach house at Glenelg on a trip? Or perhaps you've been to a big shopping centre and you may have seen an arcade called Intensity. Those are arcades. In the arcades, you can see that you will find lots of really interesting computer games, fun competitions that you can play against your family and friends, skill testers. Oh, I'm terrible at skill testers. But these are the things that you find in an arcade. Now, most of the time, you go to an arcade to have fun. But did you know that there are some people who play arcade and computer games professionally? It's their job and how they earn a living. Maybe that sounds appealing to you. So our narrative today is set in an arcade. Also in our reading passage today, there's a couple of tricky words. You will be able to decode them because you use your decoding skills to make sense, but you might not know the meaning. One of the words in there today is renowned. And renowned means to be quite famous for something. Also, there's a word mayhem, and mayhem means chaos and disaster. Now, there's another word called blatantly, and that word means obviously. And what we'll do is when we come across those words, I'll point to them and hopefully you can remember what they mean at that time. All right, I'm going to set my board up ready for our passage reading. So our reading passage today is a narrative. The protagonist, the main character, is named Jason, and it's set around things that happen in an arcade. All right. First read through, I'm reading, you're listening, creating that mental model in your head. What kind of images do you imagine happening in this narrative? Okay, listen first. Hooray, shouted the crowd as Jason, the greatest arcade gamer, entered the stadium. He was renowned for breaking world records, so stakes were at an all-time high today. The crowd were going crazy. But Jason was unafraid and attempted to maintain his bravery in the mayhem surrounding surrounding him. The excitement continued to build, but Jason blatantly rejected the possibility of failing and remained confident in his own abilities. The crowd was subjected to one of the great gaming displays. Jason celebrated by jumping over the table. He misjudged his landing and the ground suddenly felt unstable. Jason fell as his legs wobbled and they wouldn't obey. He lay writhing in pain with a sprained wrist and wailed like a baby. Days later, he unwrapped the newspaper to see his own face blazoned across the pages. He remains known as the greatest arcade gamer. Wow, there's a lot happening in our reading passage today, and there's actually quite a lot of complex words, multi-syllable words, and words that we've previously learned in our vocabulary. But it's quite a complex story. So let's just go through these paragraphs and we'll talk through what's happening. And then we'll go on and do our echo reading. Okay, so what's happening? Jason is the greatest arcade gamer and he's entered the stadium. The crowd's going wild. He's renowned. Remember that word, renowned? Means famous for. Breaking world records. So the stakes were at an all-time high. Do you remember the stakes? Not the ones in the ground that hold up plant. It means when there's a competition and he really, really wanted to win. So they're at an all-time high. The crowds were going crazy. But look, Jason was unafraid. And he attempted to maintain his bravery even though there was mayhem surrounding him. Remember mayhem? It means chaos. Okay, so you can imagine the screaming crowds. If you've ever been into a stadium, maybe watched a basketball game or even a concert of some sort, you may have seen crowds going crazy, creating a bit of mayhem. So that's what Jason's feeling. Can you feel his emotions? Would he be nervous? Would he be confident? I wonder how he's really feeling. He knows there's a lot at stake, so I think he would be quite anxious maybe to get things right. Well, it says here the excitement continued to build, but Jason blatantly rejected. So remember, blatantly, it means obviously, and rejected. Remember that means to throw something out? He doesn't want this idea. What idea doesn't he want? Possibility of failing. He rejected that idea. That's quite a complex sentence. Blatantly rejected the possibility of failing. So he's like, I'm not gonna fail. I reject that. Good on him. He's got really good confidence, hasn't he? And it tells us that because he remained confident in his own abilities. Great. And the crowd was subjected to one of the greatest gaming displays. So he lived up to the expectations. He put on a great show for the crowds. What did he do? He got super excited and he tried to celebrate by jumping over a table. What did he do? He misjudged that landing. And the ground went wobbly beneath him, suddenly felt unstable. And Jason fell as his legs wobbled. What wouldn't his legs do? They wouldn't obey him. So, poor Jason, where does he end up? He lay writhing in pain. Writhing is one of our words from a couple of weeks ago. Writhing means to wriggle around in pain or discomfort. Yeah, it tells us he's writhing in pain because of his sprained wrist. And what did he do? He wailed like a baby. But, days later, he unwrapped the newspaper. Once again, back when I was a teenager, the newspaper did come wrapped up and there was someone who delivered our newspapers every day. Sometimes most people tend to read their news online now. But Jason still has his delivered. So he unwrapped the newspaper to see his own face blazoned across the pages. Now that means that it's very, very, very big and bold and easy to see on the page. Blazoned across the pages. He remains known as the greatest arcade gamer. So he won the competition. He fell over in front of everyone. He sprained his wrist, but it didn't matter. He was still the greatest gamer. Whew, there is a lot in our reading passage today. What I'd like you to do now is echo read. So I will say using expression, scooping the phrases, and you repeat after me. You ready? Let's do this with the confidence and bravado just like Jason. Are you ready to go? Hooray! Shouted the crowd. As Jason the greatest arcade gamer entered the stadium. He was renowned for breaking world records, so stakes were at an all-time high today. Using that expression in your voice, is it going up like mine is? The crowd were going crazy. But Jason was unafraid and attempted to maintain his bravery in the mayhem surrounding him. The excitement continued to build. But Jason blatantly rejected the possibility of failing and remained confident in his own abilities. The crowd was subjected to one of the great gaming displays. Jason celebrated by jumping over the table. He misjudged his landing, and the ground suddenly felt unstable. Jason fell as his legs wobbled, and they wouldn't obey. He lay writhing in pain. Oh, I thought I heard someone go writhing in pain. Writhing means it's really distressing. Let's do that again with that expression. He lay writhing in pain with a sprained wrist and wailed like a baby. Give me a loud wail. Oh, good. Excellent. All right, nearly done. Days later, he unwrapped the newspaper to see his own face blazoned across the pages. He remains known as the greatest arcade gamer. Well done. That's a really long, complex passage today. What I would like you to do today is I would like you to decide for yourself where you're up to. In a moment, pause, and I would like you to read. You can choose to read the first paragraph 3 times and decode and build your fluency. Or if you would like more of a challenge, perhaps you can do 2 or 3 or 4 paragraphs there, the whole thing. It's up to you. You choose your level of what you would like to do today. So pause the video, reread the passage out loud with expression a couple of times. Go ahead. Excellent. I hope you did well with that reading. Very impressive today. Very impressive. If you would like to, come back to this in a couple of days and try it again. It's a really good idea to practice this one more than once because there's lots of multi-syllable words and lots of things going on when we're building the picture. Great job. It's always great to have a challenge. So if you only do 1 or 2 paragraphs today, come back in a couple of days and try the whole text. Okay, it is time to review our learning and get on to our independent task. So let's review our learning and go through the graphemes that we now know to represent the phoneme A. So we have letter A as in alien, EYA as in grey, split vowel A as in cake, EAA as in break, AYA as in play, and AIA as in rain. Excellent. Now if I do the action, what was the root? Ject. And ject means to throw. Excellent work. Let's conclude with our independent task. Let me set up my board. So the first part of our independent task is to choose 1 or 2 or 3 of the paragraphs and reread out loud, practicing your expression and your fluency. And the next part of your independent task today is to just reread this last little bit here. So days later, he unwrapped the newspaper to see his own face blazoned across the pages. He remains known as the greatest arcade gamer. What would you like to be renowned for? Is there anything that you would like to be famous for? Maybe it's horse riding, gymnastics, swimming, spelling, writing. What would you like to be renowned for? Pick something that you love doing, you're passionate about, and you think that if you made it your life's work, you would be renowned throughout all of the world, even the galaxy, for this thing. Pick what it is, and we would like you to write a newspaper article about it. Write 1 paragraph about what you would be renowned for. Sounds like a fun task, that one. Thank you for joining in with me today. I'll see you next time.